So you're thinking about moving to Jacksonville, Florida, but you're kind of interested in Avondale, and you'd kind of like to know, what's the good and the bad, the pros and the cons, the yin and the yang. Well, today we're going to cover that. Everything you want to know about Avondale, good and bad, pros and cons, yin and yang. We're going to get into that. You're going to want to stick around to the end because we're getting after it right now. If this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything about living in the Jacksonville area, subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to learn about the current market conditions here in Jacksonville, Florida. My name's Wike, and I'm a local real estate agent. I get calls, texts, emails every day from people just like you that are looking for help moving to this area, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, or even schedule a Zoom call through the link below. I'm happy to help you make a smooth move to Jacksonville. So like I said, today we're going to cover the pros and cons of living in the Avondale neighborhood of Jacksonville. It's a fantastic, architecturally rich, historically rich area of Jacksonville. It is fairly affluent, but you're going to see that it's probably worthwhile checking out if that's something that you'd like to have. Some of the history, some of the great architecture, beautiful homes in this area, and green space. And we're going to get started right now. Okay, so let's get started with the pros and cons of living in Avondale. So I'm going to get started with the cons. Here's one con, which is going to be, although Avondale is an amazing neighborhood and it's got beautiful architecture, beautiful historic area, beautiful, landmarks throughout, the trees. It does change a little bit once you get about a mile out. You will notice a change. It's not going to be quite as elegant or elaborate a neighborhood, if you will. There's a nearby neighborhood called Murray Hill, which I'd recently just sold a home in. It's a really nice neighborhood, but it's going to be evolving, over time. So some folks that live in Avondale, if they, were to sell their home, and take the equity, and then they wanted to move into Riverside, and start all over again, buy at the baseline, and over time, grab that equity as the prices go up. You could definitely do that with Murray Hill, for example. But, just letting you know, Avondale is mostly zoned single family. There are going to be some multifamilies in here, but not many. It's not going to have a huge amount of rentals. Once you get outside of Avondale, you will have more access to more rentals. But yeah, it does change once you get outside of a certain range here in Avondale. The way things appear, the stylings, the architecture, the neighborhood a little bit. It does change a bit. Okay, so the next, I'm going to call it a con only because it does involve some regulations and restrictions. There's something called the RAP, that's Riverside Avondale Preservation. It's a wonderful organization, and it definitely has a purpose. It's designed to, preserve the history and the integrity and the architectural stylings of the neighborhood of Avondale, and not let there be overgrowth and just tearing down and building back whatever you want. That's definitely not going to be the case within this district of the city of Jacksonville. Anything that you're going to do as far as modifications of the home, even new construction, has to be built to the specifications and approval of the Riverside Avondale Preservation Group. You can't have any gutters, for instance, on the front of the house. You can't have an attached garage with a forward-facing door. Those are just a couple of examples. It's not overly complex, but if you were going to make some changes to the property, you would definitely want to, go online, look up the guidelines, which they have online, look at the PDFs. They even have one for fencing. You would want to go online, take a look at that, feel like you're in compliance, and then submit that to the Riverside Avondale Preservation Group for final approval. And then you could move forward. Okay, so here is another con. There is the potential for flooding. This area is not exactly flat. It does have some terrain to it, but we're not exactly in the Carolinas. We're in Florida. We're not very far above sea level anywhere you go. So, some of the homes here are closer to the river. So if you have, tidal surge, increased levels of the river, that kind of thing during a tropical event, if you live riverfront, it's definitely a potential that, the water could come up closer to your property. I also talked to a resident, and he was telling me that if you have a house with, low-lying areas within it, you can have some puddling, potential for puddling of some water. They don't have an issue with like sewer backups or any of that kind of thing, or the streets becoming impassable or any of that kind of thing. But yeah, that is something to consider. It would be the potential for some flooding if you're in the wrong spot. And I could definitely help you figure out if that has a high risk or not. Okay, so here's another con. While there are amazing old growth trees throughout this area, beautiful branches and leaves and all that type of thing, what can happen if we have a tropical event or a really strong thunderstorm that we're to go through, you can get some debris that falls from all those trees. And when that debris falls, of course, you're going to have to pick it all up from your yard. That's a given. Rake it up, pick it up, whatever. But sometimes those branches can fall, and they don't have any really to speak of underground utilities in this area. So the power lines are overhead. So if you have a big storm event that happens, there is the potential that the area could lose some power. And I've been told that when they do lose power, they lose it for a little while. Let's put it that way. What I would consider if I bought a home, of a certain price range in here, and of course you'd have to make sure that it could get approved by the RAP. I would consider getting a whole house generator, as a backup. Kohler has those. Different companies have them. You can turn them on, you can check them, you can run them off natural gas, with a tank, and you can even check them with an app. But that's something that I would consider, depending on what I bought in this area. Okay, so here's another con. If you're thinking of, coming into Avondale and, just picking up a rental very easily, there aren't that many rentals available in this area. And when they are, they're going to go quickly. It's zoned, R1, residential, single family. There's very few rentals. There is some, multi-family dwellings in this area, but I think they're mostly going to be like owned apartments or condominiums, that type of thing. So rentals will be harder to get. The nice thing is that there's, neighboring communities very close by, Murray Hill, Brooklyn, those types of areas that are nearby that you could probably pick up a rental in much more easily than Avondale if you wanted to get one. Okay, so hooray, we're going to start in with the pros. Here's, one of the huge pros that I love. I love architecture and I love history. So this area is rich in, really nice architecture. You're going to have a lot of Italian styles, Mediterranean styles, a lot of the craftsman styles. This area is also part of the National Registration of Historic Places. So, this area was actually developed as a result of, they call it the Great Fire of 1901 that happened in Jacksonville. So after that, fire happened, people needed places to live. And this was the area, that they moved into from downtown Jacksonville to settle and start again. So it's kind of like a Renaissance area, if you will. It's really cool. Okay, so here's another huge pro, which is the amount of green spaces. I'm in a very large park right now. This is called Boone Park, and you can see the trees throughout. There's parks, paths, walking paths throughout. There's pickleball courts, public pickleball courts, public tennis courts. I believe there's basketball courts as well. You see a lot of people walking their dogs in here, pushing strollers. There's picnic benches, picnic huts, that kind of thing. There's also Edgewood Parks. There's 3 of those. And then the street ends that run north and south, the ones that terminate at the river, almost every one of those street ends has its own small, very cute, quaint green space right there on the river. I shot the opening to vlog video from one of those street ends, so you want to check that out too. Okay, so here's another pro, which is socialization. People in this area are friendly. There's a lot of opportunities, to interact, at the parks, at the shops of Avondale, which, I shot some B-roll footage of that, so you'll see that as well. Amazing shopping area. There's the Riverside Arts Market, which is under the Fuller Warren Bridge, under the columns in the shade of the Fuller Warren Bridge. That's every Saturday. They have vegetables, farmers market, vegetables, food trucks, even healthy options, for dogs, pet-friendly things, all that kind of stuff. They even make soap, believe it or not. But definitely, I've walked around here quite a bit, and people here are very friendly, very outgoing, and I definitely ran across quite a few tags showing New York. So I guess the word is out on Avondale up in New York. But if you want to get a piece of the pie down here, reach out to me. I can definitely help you. Okay, so here's another pro, which is going to be its access to downtown Jacksonville. It's very close to, of course, all of the sporting events which go on, which we have pro and semi-pro basketball, football, baseball, hockey, soccer, all of that. Of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars, we made it into the playoffs this year, yay. As far as art goes, there's the Cummer Museum of Art and Gardens, very amazing place. You want to look that up online. They have some very nice art that they have there housed, which is in residence, so it's there all the time. There's a lot of local art galleries throughout this area, a lot of artists. As far as being close to places to work, if you're not going to work from home, there's also, Blue Cross and Blue Shield is very close. Wells Fargo Bank is very close. Black Knight Financial is very close. There's a number of financial institutions very close to this area, and you're very close. This is at the crossroads of where I-10 West and I-95 South intersect. So that's also a great thing to know. You're very close. You can get very easily up to the airport. You could head north. You could head west. You could head north. You could head south. It's a really great location. Okay, here's another pro. If you like to support locally owned businesses and restaurants, they are everywhere in this area. Lots of award-winning restaurants, lots of independently owned businesses, and the locals here support the locals. The Shops of Avondale is only 5 minutes drive from Boone Park, right where I am. And I did some, B-roll footage of the Shops of Avondale, but you definitely want to check that out. If you want to go, across the river over to San Marco, that's another really nice, kind of like an Art Deco area just on the south side. That's also very close, and just across the river, like I say, Avondale Riverside of San Marco. So you can check that out as well. Same deal, locally owned businesses, restaurants, and I'm talking 5-star restaurants too. Really nice place to go. Okay, so this is another huge pro, which is going to be, there's a lot of safe, low traffic areas. And again, green spaces in these areas. You have a lot of nice street ends, a lot of shaded areas. It's, great for bicycling, rollerblading. I see people on scooters, of course, that's a motorized vehicle, but, walking, running, all of that. It's a great area. It's safe. It's pretty quiet for the most part. And if you're looking for a place, really not too far at all from downtown Jacksonville, but just far enough that you can feel like you have some peace and quiet. You can hear the birds chirping, and see the squirrels flitting about in the woods. It's a great place, great area for green space. So that's going to wrap up the pros and cons of Avondale. I hope you got a lot out of that. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can give me a call, give me a text, shoot me an email. We can schedule a Zoom call. Whatever works for you works for me. But let's communicate. Let's get you set up to make that move to Jacksonville. And like I always say, whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Happy to help you make a smooth move to Jacksonville or any of the surrounding areas. Check out my videos for other areas around Jacksonville, of course. And please subscribe so you can be the first to know about what's going on in the area and get some valuable information. So, like I always say, see you around town.